Whoops. Hmm. Oh, this starts on round 10? Oh, and it's full auto as well. What the fuck? Wait, this is the Olympia play like then. Yeah, enjoy that pussy. Haven't hit the box in years. Like 5 years inside the box. Crossbow. Sakuretsu. What was that one? Sakuretsu Shiki. Explosive style? Sakuretsu. Sakuretsu. Violent explosion. Sakuretsu Shiki Barto. Was it not always explosive bolts? CZ75. Alright. Actually play it again. Start the right map this time. What? Comes to. Fucking shit, game. What the fuck? Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Fuck out my window. What the fuck? What are you doing? What the fuck? Insta? What the fuck are you doing? beautiful. Ah. What the fuck? Get the fuck back inside! Oh, there you go. Don't take down my barrier. Man. Fuck. 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 my goodness. How are you alive? Okay. Maybe don't nade like that. What the fuck? I'm telling you, this game is so stupid. This is one of the lowest IQ games I've ever seen in my life. Oh, that's not even the nuke. The fuck out my window. It's in the room. Oh, Jesus Christ! Fuck. Oh, fuck. Woo. Let him out. We'll let them out. Ew. I shouldn't be nading really at all. I think that's a big mistake by me. Two flawless 20s in a row, basically. So now, I have to switch out white plate. I think I should just do 2 packs each window, and I'm good. Oh, I know this lottery. What the fuck?
Chinese speakers share a common script, and its skills are definition of language. But plenty of languages have no writing system at all, and Japanese was one of them. Proto-Japonic is believed to have arrived in Japan with settlers around the 1st century BC. For the next millennia, Japanese existed purely as a spoken language. When kanji was imported around the 5th century AD, it was not used to record spoken Japanese. Known as kanbun, kanji texts were Chinese, guys. Being literate in 5th century Japan just meant you could read and write classical Chinese. It makes sense, as literacy at the time was mainly the domain of monks and court officials, who studied Buddhist sutras, Confucian classics, and diplomatic documents, all from China. It was until the 8th century AD when Japan finally began using Chinese characters to record Japanese speech, mainly poetry. The result is
Can't get a Fluence 21. Oh my god, and that felt bullshit. That's the thing, that was bullshit.
And Japanese aren't even in the same language family. Fitting Chinese writings to Japanese is like fitting all the pieces into the square hole. It makes people cry.
It goes in the square hole.
Here's the Chinese character for temple. Today it reads as Zi in Cantonese. When the word was borrowed as kanbun, the Chinese pronunciation came with it. But in Japanese, the word for temple is tera. So what did they do? They slapped on a second pronunciation and left the rest to context. As the result, Japanese kanji is sometimes pronounced the native way, tera, known as kunyomi, and sometimes the Chinese way, ji, known as onyomi. Yeah, just slap the bad boy and show me how many pronunciations you can fit. You can fit one more if you relax a little. This mess of a situation is best illustrated by this. This is a temple located in the Asakusa district of Tokyo. Asakusa Tera. Except it's pronounced Sensoji. There are 3 goddamn characters and they all change pronunciations the moment they become a throuple. If that sounds confusing, don't worry, it's just as confusing to Japanese people. I have a Japanese friend who said Asakusa Tera, and I just don't have the heart to correct them, man. I know it's a simplified overview, but that's the gist. By the 9th and 10th century, kanji characters were simplified into hiragana and katakana, 2 phonetic alphabets. But of course, Japan never stopped using kanji for its semantic value, thus the now famous free writing systems of Japan were all derived from Chinese. As you might expect, this connection produces some wacky rivalries with Chinese speakers. Earlier, we mentioned how Chinese people perceive language a little differently. Indeed, China has many mutually unintelligible dialects, but they share a unified script. A Hakka speaker and a Shanghainese speaker cannot hold a verbal conversation, but can write to each other without much difficulty. Since Japanese borrows from the same script, the same logic applies, but to hilarious results. Simply put, Chinese readers can read kanji, but not kana. A Chinese person will look at the Like a Dragon game series, Ryuga Gotoku, and see dragon, something, like something. And yeah, that's what mainland Chinese fans call it, Rulong, meaning like a dragon. Officially though, the game is called Dragon Among Men, which goes pretty hard, I have to say. But that is the broader convention. Since they can communicate verbally, but can do so via writing, Chinese readers default to reading Japanese words, but in Chinese pronunciations. So this is not Kaneshiro Takeshi, this is Jinchengwu. This city is not Osaka, it's Daban. This affects how films get translated, sometimes to inferior results. The Japanese title for Spirited Away is Sendo Chihiro no Kamikakushi, the spiriting away of Sen and Chihiro. In the film, a girl named Chihiro has part of a name taken away by a witch. Her original name, Chihiro, is Kunyomi, while her new name, Sen, is Onyomi. As Onyomi is associated with classical text, the new name carries an ancient, mystical connotation. It turns the friendly-sounding Chihiro into an adult-sounding Sen. The metaphor of a lost childhood is baked right into the title of the movie. The film's mainland sounding Chihiro into an adult sounding Sen. The metaphor of a lost childhood is baked right into the title of the movie. The film's mainland Chinese title, however, is Qian Yu Qianxun. As you can see, part of Qianxun's name remains. The alienating feeling of having her identity taken away was unable to be translated. He is Tokyo Story and Ugetsu, pronounced Tokyo Monogatari and Ugetsu Monogatari, respectively. Despite the term monogatari means nothing in Chinese, it just think and speak, the titles remained unchanged when shown in China. And yet, through repeated exposure to Japanese media, Chinese audiences grew familiar with the word without it truly becoming a loanword. The Chinese reading, 物语, remains largely unused in everyday speech and carries a distinctly Japanese flavor, with one exception. Stranger Things in Chinese uses the term to invoke a Japanese campus horror atmosphere. It's a weird choice, but it works. Of course, this kind of carryover is not that common. With film distribution becoming more professional, proper localization is now the norm. Shoplifters, pronounced Manbiki Kazoku in Japanese, is properly translated as the thieving family in Chinese. Swapping localization is now the norm. Shoplifters, pronounced Manbiki Kazoku.
Manhiki Kazoku. I know what Kazoku means. What's Manhiki? What? Did he say Manhiki or Banhiki? What? Alright, just give me Mon. Character for Mon. Not for fucking swastika. Hiki. Or maybe it's Monbiki. It is Monbiki. Fucking cunt. Oh my word, I've never seen this. Monbiki Kazoku. It's gonna be a fucking odd as fuck thing.
In Japanese is properly translated as the thieving family in Chinese, swapping the Japanese Manbiki for its Chinese equivalent. Yone similarly did not carry over its kanji title, despite doing the like a dragon thing and calling it Jun Zhiming would actually make sense, but it sounds strangely archaic. There are also movies like Ju-on, where the kanji means the same thing on both sides, and films like Battle Royale, which has no kanji in its title at all, because the title is in freaking English. Speaking of, this is Teresa Teng, a singer, a cultural icon, and one of the most beloved and influential figures in the Chinese-speaking world. In 1973, she expanded her career into Japan and found surprising success. Her Japanese folk pop hits like Tsukunai and Aijin made her a Showa-era superstar. Go onto her YouTube channel today and you'll notice the comments are a mix of Chinese and Japanese. Everyone loves her. This is Teresa's Chinese name, Deng Lijun. Now, I want you to take a wild guess as to how her name is pronounced in Japan.
Oh, I wanted to know.
Kun, right? On Yomi?
It's
Teresa Ten. Yeah, it's like Japan is too afraid to deal with Chinese, so they just hire English as the Yeah, it's like Japan is too afraid to deal with Chinese, so they just hire English as the middleman. I guess Chinese really is the most intimidating language. Such is the convention. A majority of the time, Chinese titles are written out in katakana in English. The Hong Kong action flick Eigaiwa was accurately translated as Project A in English. Japan then took the English name and released it as Project.A. The same applies to Police Story, which is just called Police Story. Why? Because calling it Keikaku-e and Kesatsu Monogatari would be weird. Unlike us plebs who speak and write as is, Japanese is an insanely contextual language. Similar to how onyomi and kunyomi feels different, loanwords also carry its own cultural connotations. It's a common joke that Japanese is becoming English. Indeed, an estimated 80% of katakana loanwords came from English. So while it's debatable if loanwords are more common, they sure stand out a lot. Perhaps because the words are new, or maybe the West is perceived as more modern, English loanwords, and by extension katakana titles, carry a sense of modernity and internationality. As both Project A and Police Story are Gendaigeki, English titles better fit the more westernized settings. And before you say anything, the cutoff between Jidai and Gendai is the Meiji Restoration, so yes, Project A is technically a period piece, but still a Gendaigeki. Conversely, Drunken Master 2 was released as Suiken 2 in Japan. Yeah, the 2 is still in English. I mean, in Chinese it was written with Roman numeral, I guess we are not the one to judge. Though set after the Meiji Restoration, the aesthetic and subject matter of Drunken Master 2 are deeply traditional Chinese, and so a direct onyomi reading works. But even this is not always consistent. As pointed out in the intro, why the f is Red Clip in English? Well, my guess is
that's crazy. Akar and Yomo. Actually, it's not.
To a Japanese audience just sounds
Ganpeki. What the fuck is Cliff? Wait, what kanji do they use? Sekiheki. Yeah, or Sepeki. I don't think it would be Sekiheki, I think it's Sepeki.
Generic and old-timey.
Disagree with them on that pronunciation.
Just sounds more international and exciting, as if the movie has made its way around the world before arriving on their shores. An even more extreme case is Hero, which was released straight up with an English title and in all caps too. Meanwhile, In the Mood for Love, a film dripping in westernized romantic atmosphere, kept its Chinese title in Japan. 花样年华 in Cantonese is read directly as Kayonenka in Japanese. The infuriating part is, I can feel that it works, but don't ask me how. Some titles do get properly localized, of course. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a word-for-word translation of a Chinese idiom, meaning masters who go unnoticed. Apparently, that was too much for Japan because
Crouching
the distributor...
Tiger, Hidden Dragon? I had to put the fucking comma in there, okay. Oh my word, so Jin? Oh, this is Ga. Gakko. Yeah, it's Gakko Zoryu. Zoryu's Kuda. Warehouse Dragon? What the fuck? People, what? Crouching Tiger, I get crouching, but God does not mean. I thought that meant facing down? What does God mean? To bend down to lie? Yeah. To lie down to go to bed. Yeah. That lying down. Not really crouching, lying tiger. And Zoryu is in contain the dragon. Crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Kusashiteru. What the fuck does that mean? Oh. It means crouching. Sorry. Lying. Kushiteru. Kushiteru tera. Hito no yumo. Yumo na tatoe. Wait. Na tatoe. Example. Hito no. What the fuck does tatoe mean? What the fuck this is a basic word I know, example, and I already just said that it meant example. Kanshi, what is kanshi? Kanri. Government official. Oh, that's not even a she, what the fuck? Dated term, 29K. What's the name mean? It just says Jinmin? Yeah, it just says Jinmin no Tashiki. Tashiki Bishi. What the fuck? Hey, Kibishi. Oh, Kibishi, oh. And a hidden tiger. There's no spaces normally in common. So it's a civil servant. It's a civil servant that's mean to the people. What the fuck? What would it possibly mean, Gakko?
Renamed it Green Destiny. English is always English. One final tangent, but while Chinese people read Japanese city names as if it's written in Chinese, Japanese people read Chinese city names in English. Surprise, surprise. Hong Kong, for example, is pronounced Hong Kong. But they don't write in katakana. No, they still write in kanji. See? Told you can fit one more if you relax.
Hong Kong is just
It's
Coco.
the name of the Swedish furniture brand. How do you pronounce it? IKEA, right? Well, around the world, it's pronounced IKEA. There are many articles claiming we have been saying it wrong in English, and that's all BS. The English commercials say IKEA.
IKEA, love your home.
That's the official English pronunciation. Languages are just messy. Chinese and Japanese aren't uniquely so. On this channel, all of our videos are translated into Chinese subtitles by yours truly. While the quality is questionable, I assure you it's miles better than machine translation. If you read Doujin, you know what I mean. Our cultures are an intertwined mess. Even with all the advances in large language models, a universal translator remains forever a decade away. But maybe that's okay. Families are sometimes messy, but there is beauty to that. Despite this barrier, despite the mispronunciations, we continue to talk. And that, I think, it's pretty neat.
Comes to
AI generated.
Some artificial intelligence talking about their powerful AI.
With so many world's first AI movie coming out, I think it's time we address the topic.
I hate this.
There's a lot of controversy surrounding generative AI. Some fear that it may replace artists, others are excited by the idea.
It is revolting.
In theory, I don't dislike Gen AI. It's just a tool. In a perfect world, it could reduce workload and increase productivity. The resulting profit should go back to the people and improve our quality of life. In practice, of course, it's controlled by corporations abusing copyright in a massive scale, siphoning money to the top while ignoring all sorts of ethical problems. I don't dislike a hammer, but I do hate it when people swing it at me. But for this discussion, we'll put that aside. As I will argue in this video, even in a perfect world where AI could replicate human art flawlessly and ethically, it still cannot scratch our itch. Its proliferation is but a symptom of a larger social issue, namely the alienation of human connections. This will be an exploration on craftsmanship and artistry, chess engines and grandmasters, and people dating ChatGPT. Let's dive into the world of AI art and the unrelenting
Yes.
loneliness.
Quite frankly,
its
that is
environment.
one of the funniest things ever. People dating ChatGPT. Sounds like the
This
least
is the Elder
interesting
Scrolls
thing
2
ever.
Daggerfall. This 1996 game boasts a world the size of Great Britain, so large it takes this player 69 hours to walk across.
Nice.
A map this size, of course, was not crafted by hand.
Nice.
Instead, it may use a procedural generation. In this method, the developers set the parameters, the location of biomes, the density of foliage, etc. The computer then fills in the details like a ghostwriter following an outline. Sounds impressive, right? Yeah, this is
Wow,
really
yeah.
boring. Despite the vast world, there isn't much to see in Daggerfall. It turns out, when we explore, we don't just wander, we
Why
look
did
for
that
something.
round take so long
And
to
that
end?
something, in my opinion, is
Is that
story.
variable?
Note
I
that
remember
I said
hearing a
story
really long
and not
time ago
plot.
that was.
I mean intentions, a message being told. When exploring a generated world, we're not seeing the scenery, but the rules that governs its creation. This tree exists because of the same parameters that place the next tree over. These two trees, as is every tree on the screen, share the same narrative intention. You may not have discovered the location, but you have discovered the story. When you have seen one tree, you have seen them all. That's why it's exciting to visit a city in Daggerfall. It is one of the only places that breaks the patterns of procedural generation. As you approach, the city wall emerges, straight and deliberate, implying a unique narrative history. Inside, you find characters with unique things to say, such as King Gottfried, whose smug-looking ass invites a sword to the face. These unique characters incite emotions, because they feel offered. This city contains more intention than the entire Britain-sized map. In art, every detail is part of the story. Take the substance, for example. In this film, an aging actress clones a younger version of herself who quickly rises to fame. When asked, the clone names herself
Sue.
It's an inconspicuous detail, a decision the film did not elaborate on. To the general audience, it's just a name. But in an interview with Vogue magazine, writer-director Coralie Fagiet explained that the name invokes the imagery of, quote, an old Lolita, baby doll, sexy icon type, unquote. It's a detail that harkens to a classic film culture, that when Kubrick's Lolita was played by actress Sue Lyon. It's just a name, but it carries so much stories. But details doesn't have to be intentional to be meaningful. There are extensive analyses connecting the Twilight Saga to writer Stephanie Meyer's Mormon faith. One common link is the eroticism of abstinence, reflecting the Mormon belief that premarital sex is sinful. But Meyer had clarified that it was not a conscious narrative decision. Indeed, consciously or not, our experiences shape what we create. Our art reflects the totality of our lives. It's the way Roma reflects Cuarón's memories, it's how The Devil's Backbone depicts Del Toro's childhood, it's why Moonrise Kingdom invokes Anderson's nostalgia. But generative AI is a ghostwriter with no life experience and thus no stories to tell. So when you ask it to fill in the details, it fills your world with trees. The algorithm may be more complex, but the intention is always missing. The AI may describe a cyberpunk world beautifully, a neon-drenched megacity where towering ecologies loom over rain-soaked streets. But the setting is just a setting, and it may or may not match your vision. The only way for an AI to show your intention is to describe your story to it in detail. You tell it to incorporate elements from colonial Shanghai because it's perceived as romantic in your culture. You want the alleyways to be winding and dimly lit, bathed in the warm glow of incandescent bulbs, dangerous, rusty, and yet nostalgic. The more you describe, the longer the prompt becomes, the more interesting your generated work feels. That is why Minecraft sceneries are better than Daggerfall. With a longer prompt, more detailed parameters, you inject more intention into the final creation. Logically then, the most interesting creation is one that prescribes every detail until your prompt looks exactly the same as the finished novel. The best artwork is the one you create without AI filter. And that is exactly what the Elder Scrolls series did. After Daggerfall, the series switched to handcrafted game worlds, and was made better as a result.
Yeah, but did you consider
Most
that
are recreating
Daggerfall has the
Mona
best
Lisa
world?
perfectly. Every brushstroke, every atom is indistinguishable even to experts. Does my copy have the same artistic value as the original? On May 11, 1997, then world champion in chess Garry Kasparov lost his match against Deep Blue, a computer developed by IBM. For the first time, a machine has surpassed humans in an intellectual domain. Today, chess engines are vastly stronger than humans. Even the chessbot on an in-flight entertainment console can easily defeat the best players in the world. That's not a joke. The Delta Airlines chessbot is a whole meme in the chess community. And yes, there is a chess community.
Queen h4, g3, knight g3, check, c6, queen b7, knight h1, king there. I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna castle. I don't want to think too much.
Chess is arguably more popular right now than ever. Content creators like Gotham Chess, Hikaru Nakamura, Anna Kremling, and Northern Lion routinely gathers hundreds of thousands of views. We continue to watch humans play chess, while computer chess remained a novelty. It turns out we just prefer watching humans do things.
Oh! Okay, let's play 95.
Here lies our answer to the Mona Lisa paradox. It's what philosopher Walter Benjamin called an aura. Quote, even the most perfect reproduction is lacking in one element, its unique existence determined by the history to which it was subjected to. To put it simply, the value of the Mona
Oh, the
Lisa is
roll
not
game
in what we
starts.
see. Its aura is defined by its association with Da Vinci, the fact
The
that it was
semi-roll
so
game,
hot,
actually.
and also simply because
Bugger
we
on
mythologize
14.
it. Aura is the reason a dress becomes more valuable after being worn by Marilyn Monroe. It's the reason a stunt feels more impactful because Jackie Chan did it instead of a stunt double. In other words, we like its stories behind it. Everything Everywhere All at Once was a 2022 absurdist comedy about a mother with no achievement in life being summoned into a multiversal battle to save reality as we know it. The lead role was once envisioned for Jackie Chan, but he ultimately went with Michelle Yeoh, an actress who, I believe most would agree, is the superior choice. He's superior because Yeoh has a fitting history. Her past roles were extremely diverse, and yet her career was often overshadowed by other action stars. So when she plays a character who feels overlooked, full of unrealized potential, Yeoh's aura echoes her performance. Michelle Yeoh's story made the film better. Story is what separates artistry from craftsmanship. When most of us buy a guitar, unless it's a one-of-a-kind specialty, we don't really care who made it. What's important is the quality of the merchandise, the craftsmanship. But when we read a book, we care about the author. When we watch a chess match, we are curious about the players. And when we follow an actor, we follow more than just their on-screen roles. We want to know them in real life. We explore art looking for stories because humans seek connections with each other. Machines are very good at replacing craftsmanship. They are fast, precise, and good at mass production. But you cannot mass produce the Mona
What
Lisa
the
because there only ever was
fuck?
one Leonardo da Vinci. Even in the inevitable future when AI produces craftsmanship no humans can match, as long as we crave connections with other humans, we will crave human artists. But that, it's not a given. AI videos may not always be fun to watch, but they are really fun to make. With a single prompt, we turn ideas into reality. Things that were once difficult to express are now effortless. The instant gratification gets us hooked on constant production, and that, I think,
Man, nobody
is what AI
likes
solves everything.
making AI.
The way we entertain ourselves has changed. 30 years ago, media was centralized. We watched the same shows at the same time and shared the same experience. Then, platforms like YouTube gave everyone the ability to curate a watch list. Soon, algorithms were introduced, further individualizing our feeds. The featured video section disappeared, and so was the trending section. Today, what we see is no longer what everyone sees. Our
What you
shared
talking
space.
about, boy?
Meanwhile, content creation becomes easier than ever. Our entertainment shifted from watching to posting. We grew accustomed to speaking into the void. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, but no back and forth conversations. In this environment, AI fits perfectly. The faster you can create and post, the more fun you have. The quicker you can speak to no one. It's no wonder why the loneliness epidemic has become such a hotly discussed topic. This is a Reddit community called My Boyfriend is AI. Here, people share their experience dating, or perhaps more accurately put, role-playing a relationship with ChatGPT or other generative AI. I've chosen my words very carefully here because there are too many videos out there making fun of these people. But as pointed out by this 2025 study, people knew the AI wasn't real. But this knowledge does not stop the emotional need, which is fulfilled by the AI companionship. It's like a homeless person doing drugs to feel happiness. What are the alternatives? Go to an amusement park? Granted, the study has only 8 participants, which is laughably low. The field is new, so we can only speculate. To the participants, the AI partners are available, attentive, and predictable. It offers the feeling of connection without the difficulty of a real one. Like a comment interaction, it offers the aesthetic of a connection, but not the connection itself. AI-generated content works the same way. It can produce the aesthetic we want, but not the aura that we really need. This simulacrum is what I fear most. Just as AI companions are more available than human relationships, mass-produced AI content is more available than human-made art. Eventually, the abundance of AI content becomes the only thing people see. The harder it becomes to find real human connection, the more we begin to long for it. And the stronger the craving becomes, the more we turn to whatever is available, AI art.
Oh, that I
And
lost my
illusion
round
friendship
14
is better
game.
than none at all.
So I'm
And the
auto-biking
irony is
like
that this
crazy.
longing is induced by the false solution itself. Worse yet, as demand for this human connection grows, authenticity in art may even become a premium product. While the wealthy can satiate the emotional need, the rest of us, which will be most of us, are left with simulations. We wander the machine-constructed reality, looking for meanings in trees, in the wilderness of Daggerfall. The thing is, there's a simple fix, at least I hope so. The machine-generated world of Daggerfall is lonely, desolate, and boring. So boring, any interaction seems like a story. The players have yet to realize or have forgotten that there is a real story eagerly awaiting them. So for those of us who still know how to recognize them, all we need to do is point to the distant horizon and say, there's a city over there. When the player traverses through the land and witnesses a wall emerge in front of them, When they see with their eyes what stories look like, there is no way they can go back. Don't believe me? Here's a popular AI-generated TikTok from China.
接下来我就不客气了，你能怎么不客气？
Pretty funny, right? Well, here's something made by a human. Enjoy. Hi YouTube, thanks for watching our video. This has been a topic on our mind for the past year, and I'm glad we can finally put this mess into words. I'd like to give a special thanks to Saracenian for providing all the Daggerfall footage. He's a Finnish Chinese artist whose illustrations are on screen right now. Personally, I'm a big fan of his retro art style, and I'm sure most of you are too. You can find more on his blog or portfolio site. Whoa, what the f? I'd also like to thank YouTube channel. Oh my god, I thought the last name was difficult. Eli_handle_b.wave for giving us permission to show the John Wick in Resident Evil 4 video. This entire channel is dedicated to this kind of insanely high quality edits. If you like what you saw, you're in luck because there are 140 of them and counting. All that is to say, please support human artists. The threat of generative AI isn't that it will replace us, it's that our work are being drowned out by too many AI slobs. Your support doesn't have to be financial in nature. If you like the works, share them with friends. If you have time,
I love
write your
when
favorite creators.
oh
The
my
best way to praise what is
god,
formed is to
I
build a community
seen
so that
that.
we can always find each other.
I seen that,
To
you
this day,
piece of
every
shit.
fan I receive still makes my heart flutter. I'm certain other artists will appreciate words too. Let's reach out and rebuild our connections, and let's keep sharing our stories.
Why am I 96? smooth. That whole thing. The fuck you doing? That's such a classic thing. I understand why the game did that to me, to punish me. Because the game has feelings. It's like how I've been thinking about BO2. Sorry. Don't think about BO2 ever again. Been unfaithful. Oh my god, 96! Not as smooth. I hate how that happens. Beautiful gameplay.
So when I first moved to New York City, my entire world went up in flames. I was very ambitious, I was very naive, and I was 18 years old. I had just achieved my lifelong dream of studying literature at one of the best universities in the world, especially for the humanistic tradition. You guys have no idea how excited I was to go to Columbia, to study literature, to just be at an Ivy League school, famous for paying homage to the great intellectual tradition of Western literature and philosophy and Western civilization as a whole. I mean, you literally have an entire campus that looks like an ancient Greek city-state, and you have a library with the names Plato and Aristotle etched into the facade. This is the epitome of the humanistic tradition, and Columbia has this amazing core curriculum where you study essentially Western music, literature, philosophy, and art, and I thought thought that this was going to be one of the best experiences of my life, studying the tradition that had breathed so much life into my soul. But when I got to Columbia, I got something very, very different. So let's backtrack a little bit to high school. So I went to a very STEM-oriented high school, and everyone was always studying like math or economics, and everyone was very, very good at math, and I was the only weird kid who was good at English. And there weren't that many super advanced English programs at my high school available. I actually made my own little independent study in English where I studied Faulkner because there really wasn't the option to take any sort of advanced English classes in the same way that you might have an option to take like a multivariable calculus or linear algebra in high school. So I really wanted to go to a college where the focus would be very much on the humanities, where the humanities didn't take the back seat, and that is part of the reason why I applied to these kind of top
Every
schools.
hold up.
They are very much known for their humanistic tradition, for their exploration of literature and culture, and I wanted to get out of this environment where everyone was doing math all the time. Like my math teacher in the 10th grade would come in and make fun of the school's English department. Like I kid you not, he would come in and he would say, "Oh, all the teachers from the English department are coming into school drunk," which sort of offended me as an English literature person. There is a certain implication to that joke, but the irony was that I actually didn't like my school's English teachers either, and I thought that this was a problem with my high school because the high school was so STEM oriented, so they just didn't care about getting good English teachers. Like we always talked about the failures of capitalism in The Great Gatsby or the proto-feminism in the Canterbury Tales, and I didn't think that that was the point
Wait.
of a lot of these books. Sure, there's obviously
This
some of
lady
that
might be
in some of these
based.
books, but I think there was this kind of hyper-fixation on these very narrow themes, and it was missing the broader point of, you know, literature again is this universal tradition that tells us something a little bit more universal about human nature, and that is present both in The Great Gatsby and in the Canterbury Tales. So I thought that this was a problem with how English teachers at my particular high school were teaching English, and boy was I in for a surprise. So I get to Columbia, and my plan for when I get there is to study English, go on to get a PhD, and then become a famous writer, supporting myself in the academy. In the meantime, this was kind of the model of Vladimir Nabokov, who always just wanted to make a living as a writer, but he basically taught literature to be able to sustain himself until Lolita blew up, and then he was able to just transition to becoming a full-time writer. So that was my plan. I also really wanted to teach my own works of literature, sort of like David Foster Wallace or Toni Morrison. And to me, the combination of studying the literary tradition and also writing my own work was the fastest way of becoming proficient as a writer myself, because the best way to become a great writer is to read great literature. And I don't know why we don't understand this today. I don't see authors today reading great literature. They only read other contemporary novels, and I think that's another problem for another day. But again, I wanted to devote myself to, again, this literary tradition, to the literary academy, in order to then make my own contribution to this really rich
You're trying to
tradition
say
of humanistic
contemporary
story and written word.
literature isn't great?
Inseparable. This is a line of thought that I inherited from my favorite poet, T.S. Eliot. He talks about this in his famous essay Tradition and the Individual Talent. And the idea is that there is no new without the old. So you have Ezra Pound's famous Make It New, but you can't make it new without understanding what came before you. So in this way, I was maybe a little bit of a Burkean. Eliot certainly was quite the Burkean himself. And it's really no accident that Edmund Burke also went down in history, not only for insisting that we ought to respect tradition, but also for suggesting that aesthetic experience was uniquely bound up with the idea of beauty and the sublime. That is what literature had always meant to me, and that is why I wanted to study it so badly. Literature is the closest thing we have to a physical manifestation of the human soul, and that is so, so cool. So literature isn't just a traditional pursuit, it's also a tradition that believes in the preservation of
video games
to
though.
probe the depths of all of our psyches. So I come to Columbia, I'm expecting a bunch of people in the English department who think all of these things about literature and who love literature for the unique window it gives us into the human soul, and instead I get a bunch of radical Marxists. Even on the first day of freshman orientation, something was off. I mean, this was August 2015, I don't know if you guys remember, this was sort of the GOP primaries, Trump was just starting to gain prominence, and there was also a new buzzword on campus around that time, and that was political correctness. And that was how things stood when I got to Columbia. It was a late August morning, it was kind of hot. I had just moved to New York City from Chicago to chase my dreams of becoming a writer, and again, this was before anyone had ever heard the term woke or anything like that. Like, this just wasn't a conversation. So it's freshman orientation, and we're sitting on the lawn between the two Columbia libraries, and you have a bunch of nervous 18-year-olds who are told they're going to go out and change the world after their education, all of this good stuff. And we're also told that we're supposed to become friends with all the other kids in our orientation group, and we're supposed to get to know each other through fun icebreaker activities, all the typical crap that you usually get in freshman orientation. So we're sitting in a circle, and the orientation leader says that we're supposed to go around and state our name, where we're from, prospective major, and our pronouns. So guys, I'm sitting there, I'm confused.
Oh my
because
God,
I
I'm
know what a
gonna
pronoun
die.
is because I'm an English person and I like grammar, and I'm not quite sure how it applies in this context. I think I was sitting there as the other kids were going around in a circle, going over pronouns that I learned in French class, because that's what the word meant to me. Tu, il, elle. And it was like, what am I supposed to say? And I quickly start to catch on that people are using the subject and object pronouns that correspond to their gender. And I'm sitting there in, you know, like a little headband and my summery dress, and I am apparently being asked to say whether I am a woman or not. So I was genuinely confused. This was the first time I had ever heard of such a thing, and this was the first time in my life I would ever voluntarily report my pronouns. So obviously I give the usual spiel. My name is Lisa Liebes. I am from Chicago. I want to study English, and my pronouns are she, her. Hers? I think I stopped showing up to the latter half of orientation because it was just so ridiculous. There was one where we had to write about our ability, and I think I wrote normal, and I got in really big trouble for that. Don't do that, by the way. So anyway, I was not very pleased with orientation week, and I was really looking forward to the start of classes because I thought that my orientation leader was just some weird
Oh
guy
my
of
God,
who didn't really understand the world in the same way that I did, and I was really looking forward to, again, lovers of tradition, lovers of the humanities in the English department. So I was so excited for my English classes to start, and I show up to the first day of my freshman English department seminar, and we are given an essay by this guy named Edward Said, who I had never heard of before. This is very strange because in high school I had read basically every single great writer that you could possibly think of, or at least I'd heard of every single great writer that you could possibly think of, and I didn't know who Edward Said was. And I didn't know
Using
what poem or
double
novel we were
so,
reading
oh
of
my
this. And then
God, I hate
Edward
this
Said is
game.
a literary critic, and I thought that that was a little bit odd because you don't read literary criticism until you've read actual literature, presumably. I mean, this is the equivalent of reading an essay about Beethoven without ever having heard the music of Beethoven. And this is the first day of the seminar. And again, I thought that that was a little bit odd. And Edward Said is writing about Jane Austen's Mansfield Park, which is a book that I had read, but a book that I'm sure that not many other people in the class had read, because again, this is a bunch of 18-year-olds first day of studying English in the English department. Maybe they read Pride and Prejudice, maybe they read like Emma. Mansfield Park is a little bit lesser known. So again, it's very strange that they're giving us an essay on Mansfield Park without first having given us Mansfield Park. And I look at the reading list for the semester, and Mansfield Park is not even on the reading list. So I'm sitting there like, why are we reading a critique of Mansfield Park without reading Mansfield Park itself? And we're supposed to write this paragraph response for homework to Edward Said's take on Mansfield Park. And let me tell you guys what his take is. His argument is that Mansfield Park is a novel about colonialism and imperialism. That's a little bit strange. That's not what Mansfield Park is about at all. And apparently he hyperfixates on one line where slavery is mentioned. And from this line, he concludes that Jane Austen is complicit in British imperialist expansion. I can't even tell the story, guys, without getting a massive headache. Okay, so I think maybe this is an anomaly.
This can't be
Professor
true.
is
This
just
sounds
crazy. But then I start taking more of my
crazy.
classes, and we're reading Karl Marx, we're reading Judith Butler, we're reading all these theorists who are flooding the English curricula, but not actual novels or poems or books themselves. And it seems to me that the theorists we're reading also have very little to do with literature, such as Karl Marx or Judith Butler. And the more classes I took in the Columbia English department, the clearer it became to me that these professors just wanted to use literature as a force of resistance against illiberal forces to make our society a just world for all. Now, this is a noble pursuit on its own, but that's maybe not the sole pursuit of literature, nor should it be its primary pursuit. And to me, someone
There's no way
this
this is real.
Marxism was not synonymous with liberalism at all. Again, there's nothing wrong with trying to make our world more just and equitable, and there are so many great writers who work towards that aim. Shelley, Ibsen, George Orwell, to name a few, but the promotion of social justice cannot be the sole aim of literature. It's only one tiny component of a really broad humanistic tradition. But if you ask anyone in my department, literature was inseparable from social justice. So I started to wonder how I'd come to such a radical conclusion from my peers. I looked into reading lists across my English classes, and there was always so much literary theory, but very little literature itself. And I started to see that a lot of English departments had replaced literature with theory, and they had done it so slyly that no one seemed to have noticed. The fact was that in the Columbia English department, the Western canon was racist and Eurocentric. And if a text didn't come from a multicultural, bisexual black woman, then it was seldom introduced in our classrooms. Sure, we had a Shakespeare seminar, but not without a professor demanding that Shakespeare might have actually been a black woman, or teaching his plays through the lens of queer desire. Like this professor who took off a point from my midterm exam because I didn't talk about queer desire in A Midsummer Night's Dream. I took a class where I got a C on a paper where I argued in favor of patriarchal structures, and an A+ on a paper where I argued in favor of dismantling gender norms in the Oresteia. The first paper I had spent 2 weeks preparing. The second paper I wrote in 2 hours. The second paper was noticeably worse than the first paper, but it was the first paper that got a C because the professor claimed that my argument was simply incorrect. I had another professor in my T.S. Eliot seminar who spent the entire semester complaining about how T.S. Eliot was a conservative, and it's like, if you hate T.S. Eliot so much, why are you teaching him? And then finally, I got kicked out of my senior thesis program because I cited Camille Paglia, who is a controversial scholar who basically attacks a lot of the prevailing scholarship around Sylvia Plath, and of course that was a big no-no, and my argument was misogynistic, and I was not allowed to pursue a thesis because I chose to cite this woman. By the way, check out Camille Paglia. She is really cool. By the time I hit grad school, literature had fallen completely to the wayside. Like, it was assumed that you had read everything already in undergrad, which was obviously not true because no one was reading anything in undergrad, and now it was just complete theory. Like, there was an entire seminar required for first years that just went over theory. No literature, just theory. We read critiques of Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God without ever once having touched the book. And again, most people in the class had not read the book, but they just read the critique of Zora Neale Hurston and venerated her because she was a black woman writing, without actually knowing anything about Zora Neale Hurston, who was a conservative black woman. So the message across all of my classes was always the same. Literature was open to interpretation, but only if the interpretation said something clever about oppression, social justice, gender, race. And I had figured out all the themes that I needed to use to study literature, but I was no longer actually studying literature. Guys, I had come to Columbia years ago to study English because I love tradition and beauty, and to me, literature is an extension of a broader 1,000-year tradition of telling stories. And at Columbia, I had expected to find so many like-minded people. Instead, I was met with students and professors who only wanted to destroy everything I'd ever loved, calling it English literature in the process. Shortly after, I decided not to stay in graduate school, walk out and find an environment where I could talk about the ideas that I love freely without having my thoughts suppressed by the radical Marxist mob. And that's why I'm here today on YouTube, spreading a love of literature, talking about the humanistic tradition, which has been forgotten in our study of English literature. Because to me, literature isn't a means of fighting
There is not.
justice, but a group
I don't know if I believe what she said.
About human nature. And the
If that's true, that sounds a little bit.
To art and beauty. That's what we call the humanities. Guys, I'm tearing up because this actually makes me so sad that we don't teach literature in this way anymore, and that it's become captured by radical Marxists, and I really...
Jesus Christ.
The male gender is broken. Let's face it, if you present as male, there's exactly one personality that will earn you social approval. Chad. Assertive, dominant, successful. Nobody will be impressed by a male that is
Not
meek,
true.
submissive, and struggling. Such males are not considered gender trailblazers. They're just derided as incel needs. Nobody is offering an actual solution to this. Tradcons tell you to just man up, first tell you to just abolish gender, liberals deny this reality altogether. By embracing girl mode, you actually become free to be your authentic self without shame. Society at large requires men to keep grinding and struggling to keep the lights on, so obviously no serious and respectable person will encourage you to just drop down the pink vortex. But it's possibly the only thing that will actually help you if you're stuck being a shitty male with no prospects. This is an excerpt from a guide written for incels that want to transition into womanhood I found about a year ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. So this document is a pretty functional resource guide for starting your transition attached to a cynical manifesto about how transition is a gateway out of the pain of being an incel. It's bizarre enough seeing a transgender self-help walkthrough fused with incel ideology, but the part I'm obsessed with is this tonally insane section where the author talks about their own transition. Each sentence starts with the same level of nihilism, anger, and despair you would expect from an incel writer, which then bloom into sweet, adorable depictions of how it's invented a new form of comedy for me. During this time, my emotions were becoming far more intense. I would cry at stupid and random stuff, but crying does not feel bad. It feels good and releases emotions. I would care about stuff that didn't even matter. It was almost like hormones were dumbing me down enough to where I could enjoy life. I was starting to get a feeling, almost like being continually a little bit high. It was euphoric, to say the least. My first experience with a guy was a non-chat friend who knew I had started transitioning and thinks I'm actually trans. We didn't have sex or even oral, but we kissed a few times and cuddled for a few hours. It was magical. The cuddles were even better than endless orgasms. Oh my god, maybe you're just trans. Going from before transition to right now is like going from black and white reality and low definition to 4K Ultra HD with perfect sound. Even more than that, it's like life is more colorful now and things are so much more intense. The sky even looks brighter. Stars shine more intensely to me. It's like hormones grew a lens of happiness in my brain that now I perceive reality through, and it's so much more positive of an experience. Okay, that's actually pretty beautiful, and it's literally how every trans girl describes the experience. Please just put down your edgy villain Komida hand speeches and admit that you built a better life for yourself. It doesn't have to be this constantly shifting math equation of whose mandibles are wide enough to have happiness. You can just pursue what makes your stars shine more intensely. If you spend any time on 4chan's LGBT board, you'll see a lot of